earlier, we were hearing about how the regulations to do with care homes are going to change from the 21st of June. Residents will not necessarily have to self-isolate after leaving their care homes, and they will be able to nominate an essential caregiver. Now, this essential caregiver can visit them even if they themselves are self-isolated. Let me read this text message before we bring in Paul de Savary, the Managing Director of Home from Home Care. Personal freedom is selfishness. A collective society looks after each other. We, the UK, could learn a lot from them. Get vaccinated and then thank your lucky stars that you can. There's no name on that text message, but that's in relation to people who are working in the health system that don't want to take the vaccine. So let's speak to Paul de Savary, Managing Director of Home from Home Care. They also run the Old Vicarage in Stallingborough. They look after lots of people with mental disabilities. Paul, good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. What do you think to that text message that I just read out? Were you able to hear that?
Yeah. Good morning, Kofi. The one about vaccinations.
Yeah.
I think everybody should have a vaccination. 94% of all of our staff have had a vaccination, and we encourage the very, very small number that have not had it to have a vaccination. I think it's really important. As to whether or not you should make it compulsive, does that actually will that just force people away from the sector? I don't know. It's more complex how you actually make it work. But yeah, everybody should have a vaccination. I've had it. All of our staff virtually have as well.
So what was your reaction to the changes that were made on Monday, that were announced on Monday?
Well, I think it was an alleluia moment. It was just fantastic. I mean, people with a learning disability, and it had been absolutely excluded from what was happening. And I think actually, in a way, Bev Compton, she's a very eloquent lady, a lovely person, but she was actually talking about elder care. So nobody's actually been talking about learning disabilities.
Yeah.
And with learning disabilities, it's having these sort of ordinary sort of exchanges and meetings don't really work, and people need to go home and sleep at home, and then come back into their family's home, and then be able to come back into a care home and not have to isolate. And that's what's changed. That the individuals, my daughter, for example, who hasn't been home since Christmas, she can come home. It's fantastic. My wife's absolutely delighted. We're all delighted. So yeah, this is Freedom Day. At last, the government has recognised that something that was asinine, to be honest, because everybody had been vaccinated, they'd been vaccinated, the risks were very small, but there were far greater risks at not allowing people to go home and forcing them to self-isolate.
Now, this is great to speak to you again, Paul, because I remember the last time we spoke, the emphasis on our conversation was how, people who are working in homes which look after people with mental disabilities, and in fact, I guess the service users themselves had totally been forgotten. So I guess this changes quite a lot for you, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic, Kofi. I mean, they have been forgotten. It has been a genuine nightmare throughout the pandemic. How such a large but small number of people, relatively speaking, have been totally forgotten. And one, totally understand government has to make policy quickly. It can't share things with everybody, but it would have been relatively easy to have then sort of adjusted things within a week or 2 weeks to take care and to meet the sort of needs of people with learning disabilities, which didn't happen. And it's been a fight the whole way through. I've been on different sort of channels at different stages of the pandemic, whether it was PPE, which was being forced on people, which wasn't possible with some individuals who couldn't stand it, visiting, all of these things have been a genuine sort of problem. And the amount of work that goes into making all of this happen in the background. I mean, staff are fantastic. Care homes are fantastic. You're having to run almost a bureaucracy to make these things work in the right way with testing and PPE, all of these things. The logistics are massive. So this is fantastic news.
Brilliant. I'm buzzing that you're in such high spirits. So how are you going to be able to implement these changes? Is it something you're going to be able to do straight away? Is there going to be any sort of difficulties? Have you got anything set up in place? Because I guess you would have been waiting for this announcement to come for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, from the 21st, this can happen. I mean, immediately it sheds a lot of problems because, for example, particular individual who the family wanted them to go home, and then we said yes, but they're going to have to self-isolate. All of that led to a best interest meeting, care managers, lawyers, everybody, 2-3 hours of meetings to discuss it. We won't have to do that anymore, which is fantastic. So it's a massive burden that's been lifted from all of our shoulders. And it's a recognition that people with learning disabilities do have rights as well and should be looked at and regarded in the right way.
Lovely stuff, Paul. Lovely to speak to you. I love to speak to you when you're in such high spirits. Not that you weren't before, but it's nice that you guys are getting some positive news and some positive action to yourself and everyone within your industry.
Well, thanks, Kofi, and it's a moment just to say how amazing our industry is, and with all the regulations, with all the things that have been on them, how well they've performed, how fantastic staff are. Everybody's staff it's brilliant. So it's a proud moment too, where you can actually say that, and also sun shining where I is with you. So it makes it feel like an even.
It does, yeah. The sun is definitely shining. It does make a lot of things a lot better. Paul, thank you very much for chatting with us today. That was buzzing, man. That's made my day. That's made the show for me.